I know we've all heard this before, right?
Women get bored faster than men when it comes to relationships. Desire in men tends to gradually decrease over a longer period of time, and desire in women tanks as soon as you're in a long-term relationship or shortly thereafter, very, very quickly. That's why when people get married and they've been in a marriage for 4 or 5 years, the guy tends to be okay with things even if they're not the greatest, and women are not, because their desire in the other guy is tanked a lot quicker, which is really why women initiate something like 70 or 80% of the divorces, just because they get fed up with what they're doing and their desire tanks.
So we've all heard that, right? Okay. So I have the more that I study these things and I pay attention to these things, I think that is like complete bullshit, right? I actually think men are the ones who just get bored in a relationship and just leave. And I think men are the ones who lack the ability to commit, right? Which is one of the biggest reasons for divorce that man talked about when he said about 70 to 80% is not as close to this. It's in the high 60s, like 69, 70% of women file for divorce, estimated, right? But a large reason why is lack of commitment. Who do you think has a lack of commitment? Who do you think typically lacks the ability to commit? Men, right? So when I hear men say these things like, oh, women just get bored in a relationship and, their desirability for the man goes that, like, that is because the men aren't showing up, right? But men get bored. Men are bored with relationships when they start, like from the beginning. Men, you know what I mean? Like, men are bored with the relationship, meaning men would rather, the ultimate goal for a man is to have like a woman that would take care of him, and then to be able to still go out there and be with as many women as possible, right? That's what most men, if you ask them, that's what they would desire. It's not that it's not that men get bored necessarily, but it's that he may have more options at some point in time. So now he's like, all right, fuck it. When I met her, she was the best thing I could get, but now, I have other desires or whatever. That's what happens to me. That's what I see the majority of the time. But then I came across this and I was like, yo, these are the things that they say women do, right? But this is actually the things that I've only heard of men doing.
Girl I know that went off to college, met her college boyfriend her freshman year. She comes from a great background, 2-parent household. He comes from a great background, 2-parent household. When they met, they both knew that they wanted the lives that they had grew up with, right? So they dated, they courted all through college, right? Met each other's family, talked about their dreams, their hopes, their desires for the future, what she wanted to do, career-wise, what he wanted to do, all of that type of stuff. They knew that when they graduated college, they wanted to get married. They wanted to go to graduate school. They eventually wanted to have children, buy a home, all of that type of stuff. And they did all of that. They courted through college. They graduated and then they got married. They went to graduate school and got their graduate degrees. They bought their home. And then they had children, and then they had another child, and then they had a third. 10 years into that marriage, that man woke up one day and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I think we were too young. I didn't really know myself. And the person that I am now does not want this. She did everything. She had a plan.
Isn't this what men say women do, though? I thought this is what women do. The only people I hear of doing this are men, like, for no reason. Mind you, it's not, women leave after 10 years. Women wake up and they're just like, I can't do this anymore. But that's after a sustained amount of abuse. That's after a lot of neglect. You know what I mean? That's after heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak. Then she's just like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. Like, I've outgrown this relationship. I'm not who I was when I met you 15 years ago, and you're not changing and you're not evolving. and so I'm out. That's what I hear. That's usually what happens from when I hear those stories. And I've heard those stories from women. I'm saying directly. That's usually what happens. I have yet to hear a woman, I've yet to hear a woman or a man even tell this story about women just getting up one day and just being like, I just can't take this anymore. I'm out. Like for no other foreseeable, like you can't find the reason. The partner was like that shit. That shit almost doesn't happen, man. Men will mask for 10 years. They will have baby after baby after baby, buy a house, smile, bounce the babies on their knees, be devoted fathers on the surface. Whole time on the inside, they're like, yeah, I'm out of here. I'm about to check out. Like, shit happens all the time.
She did it how she was supposed to do it. And that man woke up one day, 10 years into their marriage, 15 years after they had been together, because remember, they met their freshman year of college, and told her that actually what I wanted 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I do not want now. They got a divorce. They split up their things. They split up custody. She got her child support. And that man do not see them damn kids. Excellent father when they were married. As soon as he hit them streets, it shifted. It changed. He no longer has the time or the patience or the interest to be the father that he once was. She gets her child support every month like clockwork. But she is also pretty much single-handedly taking those kids back and forth to school, and she works a great job. She has a great career. But in addition to that, she is pretty much single-handedly taking those kids to school, to practices, to after-school programs, helping them with their homework, parenting them single-handedly. Every once in a while, he swoop in on the weekend and take them to have some fun and then bring them back. Why am I telling y'all this woman's business? Because there are so many women and men in the comments of those videos talking about how women need to choose better, how you have to have a plan. And I don't not agree with that, but the point of my video and the reason I made the video was with this girl in mind. And so many, she's not the only person I know with this story. The reason I made the video is because as much as people tell you not to have a plan B, when it comes to children, right? Because I imagine that it's easy to pivot when it's just you out of a situation like that. But when it comes to children, whether you have a plan with a man or married to a man, if you don't have such a strong desire to be a mother that you are okay doing it alone without any support or with just financial support, if you don't have the wherewithal to do it alone, don't do it. This is literally the pin in the conversation from that video I made about that trend where young women was talking about giving men their first child and the responses in the comments. If you don't get it, you ain't got it.
Wow. And so for me, when I hear that, like I said, definitely the last part is common. That's another thing, right? Once again, the men want me to believe that women are the ones that's out here and they just change their mind and whatever. But then why would that make, like, think about that logically. Why would a woman be in a relationship with a man, be committed to a man, have several babies with that man, wake up one day, get bored, and just want to leave that man? But she don't leave the kids. So, like, I'm not understanding. It doesn't make sense logically. it makes more sense to think that this is what men do because this is what men do, right? Because after they leave, they abandon the kids too. That's common. That's so common. A woman just up and leaving everybody, going on a fucking wanderlust journey, like that shit doesn't, like, come on, man. I'm not saying it never has happened. I'm saying that shit almost never happens. But what she is describing happens often to some varying degree for men, to some varying degree. I just get so tired of hearing the lies. Now, after I watched that video, I was like, I think I know why men do this, but let's see why other people think men do this. And I came across this video, and this shit here is wild.
They get so overwhelmed, you know, every one of us, we have a tolerance level, there are things you can tolerate, and when you get to that point, you just fizzle out. Some people can still keep going, some people cannot. They're like, "Ah, no, I can't do this no more." They disappear to thin air. Some father, it's not their fault, they try, but they, man, it becomes so much for them.
Why do fathers get to try, but then when they get overwhelmed, we gotta, get a daddy some grace. The mamas will be there the whole time, struggling, drowning underwater. You know what I'm saying? And then whatever happens with them babies, y'all sit up here talking about some fucking, all the people that's in jail is due to them single baby mamas. Look how evil they are. Like, what? My mama worked a lot. I didn't get to see my mom a lot because she had to work a lot. Right? My mama didn't get home at 3:30 in the afternoon. My mama didn't take me to school and then pick me up from school. My mama woke me up in the morning half the time. She woke me up in the morning and then would go, all right, I'm going to see y'all later, and leave. And I wouldn't see that woman until it would be dark when she left and dark when she came home. And I ain't talking about in the wintertime. I'm saying in the summertime. It'd be dark when she left and dusk when she came home. Like, I didn't see my mom that much on the weekdays. I saw her on the week. Yeah, of course, on the weekend, she was off Saturday and Sunday. But like, y'all acting like we men are the only ones who get overwhelmed is crazy. Men get overwhelmed and they get to leave the babies. Women get overwhelmed and the babies are there. And then when the babies suffer because a woman is overwhelmed due to the fact that she doesn't have any fucking support, y'all blame the women for everything. It's okay to hold the women accountable for some of that, a lot of it, whatever, fine, right? My understanding is, as a parent, I get it's hard, I get it's rough, I get it's tough, but then babies didn't ask to be here, right? And you have to do what you need to do to make sure that those babies aren't suffering, right? Not about getting it perfect, but they can't be suffering. They can be suffering, They can't, like, you have to pay attention to them. You have to, like, I know it's tough. I know you need time to unplug and unwind. And mama got to have a life too, Jody, and daddy got to have a life too. Like, I get all of that. But if you ain't going to have much of a life if you got kids and you're not getting no support, and that sucks. I get it. It's not your fault that nobody's supporting you. But them babies didn't sign up for that. As much as you didn't sign up to not get any support, them babies didn't sign up to not be supported, right? So yeah, I definitely still put a lot of responsibility on the parent that stayed as well. Don't get me wrong. That's that whole, like, y'all, a lot of people like to make this assertion like, you don't never blame the women for nothing. I blame any parent. I'm going to put some blame / a lot of blame on you if you have a child and you don't show up for that child. I'm just going to put it like that. That's just my general statement. Definitely. Cool. But if you're not, but I also have to understand, I have to take into account if a huge reason why you're not showing up for that child is connected to your lack of is connected to the lack of support that you are getting from the person that is supposed to be there, I got to give you some grace. Now I can't dump 100% of that on you. I gotta give. I don't know how you want to break up the percentages, but to me, you ain't gonna get the bulk of that. You're not gonna get the bulk of that. I'm definitely gonna steal. I'm gonna give the bulk to the person that left and abandoned the child, without a doubt. Because none of this would be happening had you been there. Right? So I gotta blame you for the majority of it, and you're not there. Oh yeah, no, you getting blamed twice, right? So yeah, that's how it looks for me. But I cannot sit here and give men grace because they get overwhelmed, but not give mothers grace when they get overwhelmed. And the reason the women are overwhelmed is because of the lack of support she's getting from the father. The reasons the fathers are being overwhelmed has nothing to do with the mothers, right?
Okay, so I have a theory on why this happens. When a relationship breaks down, some fathers are still very present in their children's lives, and some fathers choose to leave and never to be seen again. I have a theory on why this is and what goes on in their brains. So hear me out and let me know what you think. Let's start off with the good. The dads that do stay in their children's lives, even though their relationship with their partner has broken down, they love their children in their own right and in their own entity. They have a separate love for their children. Yes, the children were a result of the relationship, but the children are separate from that and they love them as individuals as it should be. Therefore, they could never fathom leaving. On the other hand, you've got the dads that see the children as an extension of the relationship. So they loved the relationship, they loved being in that relationship with you, but then as soon as that relationship broke down, there was no need to keep in contact with the extension of that relationship, so therefore they leave and can justify that. Let me know what you think.
I think the men, I agree with pretty much all of that, no doubt about it. The only thing I would add to it is I think also the kids are a way for them to control the women. So they love that. You know what I'm saying? They love being able to have that control. Like, yeah, you got these babies. You know what I'm saying? And so they will definitely, while they're there, they'll support the women or whatever. But once they leave, they don't care about the babies or that woman because the babies were just a way to control the women. That's the only thing I would add to that. But yeah, 100% agree with her. 100% agree with her. The men do not see the children as human beings. That's what this comes down to. They don't see the women as human beings either, but they don't see the children as human beings. Therefore, it's hard for them to have a relationship with the children outside of the relationship they have with the woman, right? That's what I think happens a lot of times, if not the vast majority of the time. Now, going back to the guy who left, you know what I'm saying, in the first place, I don't know why he left. What I think though, what I want to focus on though, is the fact that those types of men don't care about what happens to the women or the children, right? I don't know why he left. I don't, but I do know that to do what he did, he had to be selfish. To do what he did, he had to be inconsiderate. To do, you know what I mean? Like, I do know that about it. Like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and there's no way I'm giving him any wiggle room or any grace or anything like that to be like, oh, he got overwhelmed. There are other ways to handle you becoming overwhelmed. Meds, therapy, clocking into your fucking job. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times when you get overwhelmed, you need to create a fucking system. You need to figure out a way to compartmentalize shit so you can get things done, right? So you don't feel over like, oh man, I got all this stuff coming at me at once. Whatever. But the last thing is I need to just fucking leave. I need to walk away. Like, what the fuck are you? That is absolutely not an option. And lastly, I do want to touch on the part that she said that he still shows up on the weekends, sometimes from time to time. And I was an abandoned child. I grew up in an absentee father home. Showing up part-time in that way is, to me, it's worse than just paying the money and leaving that child alone, right?
See, when a man abandons and neglects his child for good, with no other reason other than he just doesn't feel like manning up and being a parent, that's traumatizing enough. for both mom and baby. And for him to never come back or call or visit, nothing, it's devastating. But there's another level of deadbeat that's even worse and harder to deal with and more traumatizing, if you could believe it. And that's one that won't go away completely and pops in and out only when convenient for him. See, these deadbeats stick around just enough to continue to abuse their ex emotionally, verbally, psychologically, financially, legally, anything to continue to assert control and manipulation. So now, this single mom is not just stuck raising her kid all by herself with no help from him. She's forced to continue to deal with her abuser that she already escaped. She's forced to be lied on every single day, accused of being an unfit parent, dragged through the court system, all for retaliation, all while just trying to figure out life. In my opinion, if a man is going to walk away from his child, I pray he does it for good, for everyone involved.
For real, for real. Like I couldn't, I couldn't. Definitely the last part. I couldn't agree with that more. Like if you gonna leave, leave. Like leave. Pay that money. Leave the wallet on the table. But leave them babies alone. They don't need that shit. They don't need that shit. If you're gonna be present, be present. I love it. Rock out. You know what I'm saying? Like the other young lady said in the other video right before this one, she was saying like, hey, if you can separate the child from the mother, you know, the relationship part, great, do that. I separate, my kids are their own people. I separate them individually amongst each other too. They're not like a unit like my kids. No, it's like that's Lennox, that's Jackson. They are two completely different people. They're separate people. I talk to them differently. I feel differently about them. You know what I mean? I have different feelings about we have different relationships. Not better or worse. I don't care more or less, but I'm saying we just have different relationships. Me and their mother have a different relationship. Like we all have a different relationship. When we come together, we interact a certain way, and when I'm with them individually, we act different. I interact with them differently. They are their own people. Right? I will never abandon my kids. I don't care what happens between me and their mother. I would never abandon my kids. So a lot of this, I can't wrap my brain around. I've never really ever been able to understand why a man or anybody would abandon their children. Like I can't. I haven't been able to actually, like, what I'm saying is ration. Like, I haven't been able to rationalize it. I know reasons why men do it. Don't get me wrong. Like they just don't give a fuck about the children and they're selfish. Trust me. I get that part. But I'm saying like, I haven't found a rational explanation for why anybody would abandon their kids. I just haven't. It just doesn't make any sense. I haven't found a rational explanation for why you would have kids and neglect them. Why you would have kids and abuse them. Like, I don't understand that either. Why have kids just to do that? You know what I mean? Like that shit is crazy. Same thing, but because abandonment is abuse. So I just don't understand. I don't get it. I can't wrap my brain around it. But I definitely think that if you feel like you want to leave those babies alone or you have ass in it or whatever, like I remember playing sports. I played a lot of sports. And I remember like talking to one of my coaches one time and they were saying like, we were talking about injuries and the coach was like, pretty much, when you play, you need to go 100%. You're less likely to get injured when you play 100%. You're more likely to get injured when you're going 80 or you're pulling back or whatever, right? Because you're doing things that are unnatural. That's how I feel when it comes to taking care of kids. It's like, if you're not going to go 100%, leave them babies alone, man. They don't need the disappointment. They don't need the constant letdown, right? Because when you leave them, it's not a constant letdown. You know, I mean, you can look at it like every day is a letdown, but like not really. It's really like this one act. Like, yep, they left me, they're gone. That's fucked up. Let me process that, move on. But when it's like cyclical, when it's like my dad abandoned me a lot of times. That's the thing. He didn't abandon me once. I got abandoned like every 5 years. You know what I mean? Like I got abandoned so many times. So I have like all of these like open like wounds that I have to like heal up and process. If he'd have just left me alone when I was 6, I would have been done. Like my brother, his dad left him. My brother, I ain't saying he's like good or whatever, but I could tell he has dealt with that like pain for so long and processed it a long time ago, that you just see how it shows up in him today. But with me, it's like I'm still dealing with it. You know what I'm saying? Because it happened so many times. So I have to like unpack every single time that he did it, you know? So yeah, I think like if you ain't gonna be there for them babies, man, you can just leave them kids alone, right? It's all not okay, but I prefer that over the alternative of you halfway showing up.